is going on, guys? So as you can see, I'm looking around. It is a beautiful fall day in Vancouver. We don't really have much to complain about. It's not raining. It's not snowy like the rest of Canada. It's nice and sunny. It is a little bit chilly, but we still got a bright sunshine brightening up the day. So today's video is basically going to be about making yourself a goal, or I guess like a good way to start a goal. And though every goal is going to be different, there's definitely a template in which we make our goals that can definitely help out a ton. And so like the most popular one, you've probably heard this before, but I'm just going to explain it in depth today just to kind of help you understand it a little bit more and make some better goals for yourself. But basically that template is what's called a SMART goal. SMART goals, I'll put up a little picture here so you can see a diagram of it, but basically SMART goals are going to stand for specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, and then relevant, or I guess you could say realistic, and then the last one is going to be like time bound. So basically I'll explain what each one of those things means. So the first one, specific. Basically what that is you're going to make sure that your goal is specific enough to make sure that you're able to achieve it or not. And so what that basically would be is like the difference between, hey, I want to make and save a lot more money, and I want to make sure that I have $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 in savings, whatever that number is. So basically you just got to make sure that it's specific, it's set on an actual measurable number, which leads us to the next one, which is M, measurable. You want to make sure that your goal is measurable so that you know when you actually achieve it, right? Makes perfect sense. So again, we can take it, instead of finances, we'll use, say, body image or weight loss. So instead of saying I want to lose a bunch of weight, you're going to make sure it's measurable to make sure that you know when you've achieved it, and say I want to lose 15 pounds. You could always flip it around and say, hey, instead of saying I want to gain a bunch of muscle, you could make it measurable and say I want to gain 10 pounds of muscle. All right, I just had to move because I was being a little bit too loud for some people around me, but basically the more measurable your goal is, or the more measurable aspects of your goal are, like the actions you're actually taking, the more accurate you can be with actually hitting your goal, and it'll also show you basically ways you can improve, or the areas that need improvement as well. So the next letter obviously is A, so that's going to be like achievable or attainable. And so what that is basically you want to make a goal that you can actually hit. And so obviously it's important, you want to dream big and you want to actually chase the things that you're passionate about, but don't try and take over the whole world in one night, right? Just make sure you give yourself a little bit of leeway in terms of like what you can actually accomplish, but definitely don't set boundaries for yourself. Dream big, right? The next one is realistic or relevant, which obviously ties into the one we just discussed. You want to make sure it's realistic so that you can make sure that you can hit your goal, but you also want to make sure it's relevant. Is it worth investing so much of your time or maybe finances in, and is it going to help you in the general direction that you want to go in? You don't want to waste your time specializing in a bunch of different little tasks that aren't really relevant to where you want to go. So just make sure that your goal is obviously realistic, and that ties into the attainableness, but you also want to make sure that it's relevant to where you're going right now in your life and what you want your end game to be. Now the last one is the T, time bound. Now this one is extremely crucial, and the reason why is because you want to make sure that you have an actual timeline of when you want to achieve your goal by, because it's going to help you be a lot more accountable with hitting that goal. So say you want to gain like 15 pounds of muscle. You want to give yourself a timeline to achieve that goal so that you stay consistent throughout the entire time. That way you're not gaining 10 pounds of muscle, losing 2, gaining another 3, kind of hitting a weird fluctuation and never actually getting to your goal. By setting a timeline, it's going to help you hold yourself accountable, but also you can start to set smaller goals within that timeline to make sure that you're staying consistent the entire time. So if the end goal is gain 15 pounds of muscle in a year, then it could be gain 5 pounds of muscle within 4 months, and maybe start from there and have like that time bound, a deadline to push you to actually get to that goal, right? If you don't have the time behind it, we all know, because most of us have gone through at least elementary school, high school, and maybe some post-secondary school, college, or university. Deadlines are what helps us out, right? And so like if your teacher tells you, hey, we have 12 assignments and they're all due at the end of the semester, probably not going to get started on them right away. But if he says, hey, we have one assignment that's due this week, then you're going to probably crack down on it. And if you're like me, it'll be in the last 2 days. But having some sort of a timeline is what's going to help us be accountable to it. Hopefully you feel a lot more responsibility, or you feel some responsibility to the goals that you set for yourself, as opposed to ones that are set by say like college professors or teachers or parents, right? Now obviously all of my videos do have a little bit of a connection with, you know, mental health and stuff like that. And these are ways that you can start building goals. Say if you want to get better sleeps at night, or if you want to get back on track with your nutrition, or even just setting little habits or little things that you're going to do every single day that are going to make you feel better. But these are obviously applicable to people that aren't suffering from mental health as well. You can kind of apply these in your life and then start to set goals and crush them, right? So you don't always have to be suffering to improve. If you are suffering with something, you're not alone, and you're never going to be alone with anything that you're going through in your life. Chances are somebody's gone through it before, or they could be going through it right now as well, and you can go through it together. When you do fail at kind of achieving a goal or making a goal, then you always have to remember, like, you might not have learned what you need to do to achieve it next time, but you always do learn what you shouldn't do, right? So from your failures, you can learn about, you know, what you did wrong, or maybe ways that you can improve in the future as well. So don't get demotivated if you're finding your goals a little bit difficult. Just dial back and get back into it and try again, right? And at least you've learned what you shouldn't do in the future. What I suggest is, if you do set a goal for yourself and you don't achieve it, then use that in your template for next time, and remember that for your obstacles or what might be obstructing you in your goals. And you can kind of consider that when considering, you know, if your goal is realistic. You can think about the obstacles that you're going to have in your way. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you go out and set some new goals and start crushing them as well. And as usual, thank you guys so much for the support. I hope you guys have a good weekend.